question that changes everything. Picture this. You walk through the front door after a long, exhausting day. You haven't said a word. You haven't made a sound. But before you even take off your shoes, your dog is already there, tail spinning like a tiny propeller, eyes locked on yours, body wiggling so hard it looks like they might just fall over. And in that moment, you feel it. They love me. But then, a thought creeps in. A question you've probably pushed away before because the answer felt too uncomfortable. What if it isn't love? What if your dog is just incredibly good at acting like they love you, because it gets them food, warmth, and a place to sleep? What if the tail wags, the cuddles, the way they follow you from room to room, what if all of it is just biology? Or what if science actually proves something far more beautiful than you ever imagined? Today, we are going deep into the science of what your dog actually feels when they look at you, and I promise you, the answer will change the way you see your dog forever. The skeptic's argument. Maybe it's just habit. Let's start with the uncomfortable argument first, the one scientists used to make for decades. For a long time, the scientific community had a very strict rule about animals. They called it behaviorism. The idea was simple, and honestly, a little cold. Animals, they said, do not have emotions. Not really. What looks like love is just a learned behavior. Your dog greets you at the door, not because they missed you, but because every single time you've walked through that door, something good happened. Food, attention, play. Over thousands of repetitions, your dog's brain built a simple equation. Human at the door equals good things happen. React with excitement. Under this theory, your dog doesn't love you. Your dog has simply trained itself to act like it loves you. Because it works. That's a painful thing to consider. But here's the thing. Science didn't stop there. Because the more researchers looked at dogs, the more the behaviorist theory started falling apart. Completely. The oxytocin discovery. The love chemical. In 2015, a Japanese researcher named Takefumi Kikusua made a discovery that shook the scientific world. He brought dogs and their owners into a lab, and he asked them to do one simple thing. Just look at each other. Then he measured their hormone levels. What he found was extraordinary. When dogs and their owners locked eyes, both the human and the dog showed a significant spike in oxytocin, the same hormone that floods your brain when you hold your newborn baby for the first time. The same chemical released when two people who are deeply in love look into each other's eyes. Scientists call it the bonding hormone, the love hormone. And here is the critical part that changed everything. This reaction only happened with their own owners. When researchers had dogs make eye contact with strangers, the oxytocin spike was almost completely absent. Think about that for a moment. Your dog's brain releases the chemical definition of love, specifically when looking at you, not at any human, not at the person who feeds them, specifically at the person they have chosen as their person. That is not a habit. That is not a trained behavior. That is chemistry, real, measurable, biological love. The brain scan, what dogs see when they look at you. But we can go even deeper than hormones, because now we can actually see inside a dog's brain while it's thinking about you. Emory University neuroscientist Gregory Burns spent years training dogs to lie perfectly still inside an MRI machine, completely voluntarily. No sedation, no restraints, just patient dogs, trained with treats and kindness, willing to hold still long enough for scientists to scan their brains. And what those scans showed was remarkable. When dogs smelled the scent of their owner, a specific part of their brain lit up. The caudate nucleus. This is the same brain region that activates in humans when they experience pleasure, reward, and love. But here's the detail that stops you in your tracks. The scent of their owner activated the caudate nucleus more strongly than the scent of food, more than treats, more than toys. more than any other familiar smell. To your dog, you are literally more rewarding to their brain than food. Let that land for a second. An animal hardwired over millions of years to prioritize survival puts you above eating. Can dogs read your emotions? Now here is where it gets even more fascinating. Because loving someone isn't just about feeling good around them. Real love means you pay attention. You notice when they're happy. You notice when they're hurting. Can your dog actually do that? In 2016, researchers at the University of Lincoln showed dogs photographs of human faces. Happy faces, angry faces, sad faces, and they measured where the dogs looked. Dogs consistently looked longer at emotional faces than neutral ones. And when the face was angry or frightened, dogs showed a very specific reaction. Their heart rate increased, their body tensed, they looked away quickly using their left eye, which in dogs is associated with processing threatening and emotionally intense information. They weren't just seeing a face, they were reading it, processing it emotionally. But perhaps the most striking study came from the University of London in 2012. Researchers had people either cry, hum, or speak normally. When a person cried, almost every dog in the room walked over and made physical contact, not just with their owner, but with any crying human they could reach. And here is the detail that changes everything about how we understand dogs. The dogs who approached showed submissive body language, head low, movements slow and gentle, tail held carefully. That is not curiosity, that is not excitement, that is empathy. An animal choosing to comfort a sad stranger because it felt their pain. Do dogs miss you when you're gone? Let's talk about something almost every dog owner has wondered. When you leave, do they actually miss you? Or do they just stop thinking about you the moment the door closes? Researcher Therese Rehn at Uppsala University in Sweden set up an experiment to find out. She had owners leave their dogs alone for varying amounts of time, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 4 hours. When owners returned, the dog's greeting responses were measured carefully. Heart rate, body movement, vocalization, attention given to the owner. The result was clear and consistent. The longer the owner was gone, the more intensely the dog greeted them upon return. Dogs separated for 2 hours showed significantly more excitement than dogs separated for just 30 minutes. And here is the crucial detail. After the 2-hour mark, the intensity didn't keep increasing, which suggests dogs can track time. Up to a point. They notice you've been gone. They experience something during that absence. And when you return, the relief is real. Your dog does not forget you when you leave. They wait. And that waiting, that is longing. That is missing someone. That is love in the only language a dog knows how to speak.
The 10,000-year bond, how dogs became love experts. To truly understand why dogs love us the way they do, we need to go back, way back, about 10,000 years. Dogs are the only animal on Earth that domesticated itself. Unlike horses which humans captured and tamed, or cows that we bred into submission, dogs chose us. Wolves that were less fearful of humans began hanging around early human settlements, eating scraps, tolerating proximity, and over thousands of generations, they changed. Their skulls changed shape. Their eyes developed muscles that wolves don't have, muscles specifically designed to make the expressions we read as puppy dog eyes, the raised inner brow, the wide, soft gaze. These are not accidental features. These evolved because dogs that could communicate emotionally with humans survived better. But here is what is truly breathtaking. In that same time, humans changed too. We developed a faster oxytocin response to dog gazes than even our closest primate relatives show. Our brains became wired to love dogs back. This is not a pet and its owner. This is a 10,000-year coevolution. Two species that reshaped each other's biology just to be better at loving one another. No other relationship like this exists anywhere in the natural world, not even close.
What about dogs that seem indifferent? Now I can already hear some of you thinking, but my dog doesn't act like this. My dog barely looks at me. My dog seems completely fine without me. And that is a fair and important point to address. Here is what the research tells us. Just like humans, dogs have individual personalities. Some dogs are naturally more demonstrative. Some are more reserved. A dog that doesn't jump all over you isn't necessarily a dog that doesn't love you. It may simply be a dog that expresses its love differently. Watch for the subtle signs instead. Does your dog choose to sleep near you when they could sleep anywhere? Do they follow you from room to room, not asking for anything, just being near? Do they check on you periodically, glancing over to make sure you're still there? Do they bring you their toys, not to play necessarily, but just to show you something they value? These small, quiet behaviors are the language of a dog who loves deeply but speaks softly. Love doesn't always look like tailspins and leaping. Sometimes it looks like simply not wanting to be in a room without you. The grief test. What happens when you're gone forever? If there is one final piece of evidence, one that is hardest to explain away with habits or conditioning, it is what dogs do when they lose someone forever. The stories are everywhere. Dogs that stop eating after an owner dies, dogs that wait at the door for months, dogs that return to the same spot where they last saw their person, day after day, for years. You may have heard of Hachiko, an Akita in Japan whose owner died in 1925. For the next 9 years, until his own death in 1934, Hachiko returned to Shibuya Station every single day at the time his owner's train would have arrived. He waited every day for 9 years for someone he would never see again. That is not a habit. You cannot train loyalty that outlasts death. You cannot condition an animal to grieve. What Hachiko showed the world is that the bond between a dog and their person is not about food or warmth or comfort. It is about something that cannot be replaced by any other human or any amount of time. It is about love, the kind that doesn't know how to stop. The science verdict. What research actually concludes? So let's bring it all together, because after everything we've explored, what does science actually conclude? Gregory Burns, the neuroscientist who spent years scanning dog brains, published a book called What It's Like to Be a Dog. His conclusion, after all that research, was direct and unambiguous. Dogs experience emotions in ways that are neurologically similar to human emotions. They feel pleasure, they feel fear, they feel attachment. And the attachment they form to their owners activates the same neural pathways that activate in humans during love. In 2019, a comprehensive review of animal cognition, research by multiple universities concluded that dogs are one of the only non-human animals capable of forming genuine cross-species social bonds, not just tolerating humans, not just using humans, but genuinely attaching to them, choosing them, missing them. The scientific consensus, the one that behaviorists resisted for so long, is now clear. Your dog loves you, not as a metaphor, not as a convenient interpretation of their behavior, but as a neurological, hormonal, evolutionary reality, the kind of love that took 10,000 years to build, and that lives right now in the eyes of a dog waiting for you to come home. What this means for how we treat dogs, and if that's true, if dogs genuinely love us the way the science says they do, then that comes with a responsibility worth sitting with for a moment. Because if your dog's love is real, then so is their loneliness when you ignore them. So is their anxiety when you leave them alone for too long. So is their heartbreak when they are abandoned or rehomed or surrendered after years of believing in someone who didn't stay. These aren't dramatic interpretations. These are biological realities backed by the same science that proves the love itself. A dog who loves you needs you to show up. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consistently, with presence, with patience, with an understanding that behind that wagging tail and those bright eyes is a creature who chose you, across 10,000 years of evolution, against every odds of the animal kingdom, a creature whose brain is literally wired to light up when it smells you coming. The least we can do is make sure we deserve it. The closing, the answer you already knew, so does your dog actually love you? The skeptics once said no. They said what looked like love was just chemistry, just habit, just survival instinct wearing an adorable disguise. But now we know it is chemistry, and that chemistry is love. It is a habit, the 10,000-year habit of two species choosing each other again and again until they rewired each other's biology just to do it better. The next time your dog looks up at you with those soft, trusting eyes, know this: their brain is flooding with the same hormone that floods yours when you look at the person you love most. Their caudate nucleus is lighting up brighter than it does for food. Their heart, in whatever way a dog's heart is capable of it, is yours. They love you, and they have loved you since before either of you was born. If you found this as beautiful as I did, share it with someone who has a dog, because they deserve to know this too. And I'll see you in the next one.